Happy Friday Eve. Thank you for joining me. I am Sarah Ellis, and you are on the, obviously, you are on the Jesse James Beads Facebook page. At least I would hope so. So yeah, today we're doing a really fun project. We're going to use some memory wire. We're going to use some Dakota stones. We're going to use some fairy silk. These are all favorite things of mine. So I hope that you guys will enjoy today's project. Before we get into the project though, I did want to mention, in case you have been living under a rock, hi Emily, there are so many new things over on the Jesse James Beads website. If you haven't looked, hey Joan, if you haven't looked recently, go take a look. The landing page, always has that thing that scrolls across the top that shows you, like, let's see, right now it has designer bead blends, custom dyed mixes and strands, and then it'll show you like the Dakota stones and then like a little teaser for the luxe strands that have the Swarovski on it. Check all that out because there is so much new stuff on the site. I was just browsing before I came here to be with you guys, and all of the pride mixes, they are to die for. All the fairy silk, I cannot wait. I'm so excited to get my hands on the fairy silk, and that's why we're going to be using it today. But it's not the new stuff. This is stuff that was already there, but maybe you missed it. So let's talk about that before we get started with the project. So we're going to be using some fairy silk today. It's like this really pretty sage green color. It's actually kind of a muted sage green. Let me turn this light out. There, you get a better view of that color. It's very dark in here. It's still very, very cloudy here. But anyway, this green color also comes with this beautiful blue. This is like a denim blue, and it comes with this purple. This is the Northern Lights mix, or bundle rather. Look at that, isn't it pretty? I can't stand it. I love it. That's how much I love it. I can't stand it. I want to braid this stuff into my hair. Is it not just the most beautiful stuff ever? So we're going to use this sage green color because I thought that it went really, really well with the Dakota Stones bead strand. Now you guys did see me, rather, bad grammar today, making a bracelet out of this previously, but I loved this strand so much. We're going to use it again because this one is just really, really pretty. The last project that we did, you can watch and replay if you missed it. We made a leather bracelet for Father's Day. This week's bracelet, you could probably get away with wearing it if you're a guy. I would, but I'm a girl, so what do I know, right? But it's kind of a unisex feel bracelet. I mean, it's like, I don't know, it's kind of hippy dippy, really cool. Love, love, love the bracelet that we're going to make today. And I love those beads, so I'm excited to work with those. But you don't have to use that bead strand. Like I said, check out the website. There's a lot of different Dakota bead strands on the website that would look really beautiful with the fairy silk. And now with all the new fairy silk, I mean, really, the sky is the limit as far as your creations are concerned. So like I said, we're going to make a cool little bracelet, and you guys are going to have to be a little patient with me. I'm actually going to have to pull the picture up as we're going along because I tend to forget what order I put the beads in. So if you happen to catch the side of my phone, I promise I'm not being rude and texting. I just have to have that picture in front of me. Hi Melanie. Hi Angie. I'm so glad everybody is here today. It is, like I said, Friday Eve, and I don't know about you guys, but this week seems like it's gone on forever. So I'm kind of ready for the weekend. So let's make a cool project, and that will help get you over the Thursday hump and into your Friday. All right, let me move you guys. Oh, all right. And turn my light back on. Okay, so like I said, we're using memory wire today, and there are a couple of really important things that you need to know about memory wire. Okay, let's see. I'll get my light. Okay, so for those of you who are familiar with memory wire, it is a tempered steel wire, which means that it is always going to retain its shape. Okay, it is always going to be in this circular form, which is really cool because you can cut this and use these circles for all kinds of things other than multi-strand bracelets, which is usually the most common way to use your memory wire. But it means that you can't stretch this out flat, so it becomes kind of difficult to measure memory wire. You kind of just have to kind of eyeball it and guess. Okay, so I don't have an exact measurement for you guys, but I'm going to say this is more than 1 ring of memory wire. Okay, so this is going to be roughly 7.5 to 8 inches of memory wire. You can stretch it out if you want to, but you're never going to get a flat exact measurement on this. You could if you had, you know, a fabric measuring tape. That's pretty much the only way. All right. Hi, Karen. Better late than never. Rita, hi. Gosh, I love it. I love it when you guys are all here. It's so exciting. Okay, so like I said, we are going to use about 7.5 to 8 inches of this. This is really going to make just a single strand bangle. Okay, so we're not doing a lot of different strands here. Okay, so when you're going to cut your memory wire, and that's number 2, you want to be sure that you're cutting not just right where it meets, but you want it to overlap a little bit. Okay, give yourself a little bit of room here. Okay, so when it comes to cutting memory wire, you're gonna need memory wire cutting tool. Okay, this is so important. This is probably the most important part of working with memory wire, and let me tell you why. Because this is tempered steel, this is heavy duty stuff to cut. You have to use a special cutter. I'm getting tongue-tied. A special cutter tool for this stuff, or you are going to damage your cutter tool. Okay, you have to have a special kind of cutter for this. And luckily on the Jessie James Beads website, they have these. Okay, so be sure that if you're picking up some memory wire that you go ahead and get some of these too. And let me show you. I have an example for you. If you don't believe me, the proof is in the pudding. I want you guys to look. Do you see all those gashes in my blade? This is my Italian cutter. This was my flush cutter from Beadalon that you can also get on the Jessie James website. This one I keep around for, you know, I cut things that I shouldn't cut with it because I destroyed it. Look at that big notch in the top. It's terrible. It's absolutely, I destroyed these cutters, absolutely destroyed them. And it's because I cut things like tempered steel, and you do not, trust me, these are not cheap. You do not want to do that. So you want to get your memory wire shears for this in particular. Okay, next thing that you're going to want is either a pair of round nose pliers, or you can get the memory wire cutter, or not cutter, but pliers, the finishing pliers. Either one works. You don't have to have one over the other. The main difference is that the memory wire pliers, the finishing pliers, are not tapered. But really, it doesn't make that much of a difference, okay? So don't feel like you have to buy an extra tool. If you don't have one of these, you're good with your round nose pliers. It totally works, okay? So memory wire is super, super cool because you don't have to use any hardware, and that's where your round nose pliers or your finishing pliers come in handy. You're just going to create a loop at the end, and that's going to keep all of your beads or whatever you're using from falling off, okay? So you don't have to have anything special. That's probably one of the main things I like about this project, is because there's no hardware needed. We're going to use a little bit of wire. We're going to use some beads. That's pretty much it, okay? All right, so you can see that I've already turned one loop here on the end. Let's see, this is the piece that I'm going to use just because it's pre-cut, but for those of you who have not seen the loop being turned on the end, let's do that with this scrap piece that I have here, just so that everybody is on the same page. Okay, I'll do one end with the round nose pliers. I'll do the other one with the finishing pliers, just to kind of show you that you definitely can use both. Okay, so again, all you're going to do is just grab that wire, just like we do with a lot of things with our round nose pliers. You're going to grab that right at the end and just decide what size loop you want, and that's going to be where you're going to position that wire on your pliers, and then you're just going to turn a loop. You don't have to do anything special here. You're just turning a simple loop. Okay, now same thing on the other end. Of course, you would want to, you know, string your beads on and stuff first before you go ahead and finish the other end, but you've got two choices here, so you don't have nearly the choices as you do with your round nose pliers with this guy, but still, you know, if you've got one of these, you can certainly use it. And then just same thing, turn in a loop. Easy peasy, right? There's nothing hard about it. I love memory wire. Memory wire, for people who are just starting out to make jewelry, I get asked a lot, where should I start? Memory wire is one of the things that I always recommend because it's so easy. Everybody can do this and you get instant gratification. There is nothing like stringing up a bunch of beautiful beads on a piece of memory wire and putting it on immediately, right? You don't have to fuss with any kinds of hardware. That's awesome. Okay, so let's get started with this bracelet. Now, again, I've turned one loop at the end, but I'm leaving the other one open so that I can thread my beads on, okay? Now, the first thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna add some of this fairy silk to this memory wire. Now, I've taken my fairy silk and I've cut it into a couple of different sections here. Let me lay that out for you, okay? I've got a long section. I've got two long sections here. One of them's not quite as long as the other one. One of these is 9.5 inches and one of them is 13 inches. Okay, you can cut these even if you want to. It really makes no difference. I honestly cut mine after, you know, I had wound it onto the memory wire and then cut it, and so that's just what I ended up with. You can cut two even pieces if you want. You just want two long strips of this. And then I have three shorter strips that are about 4 inches long a piece. One of them is a little shorter, but that's okay. It's not really going to make that much of a difference. But you do want to go ahead and cut your fairy silk up. Emily says, is there anything you don't love? I know, right? I say that about everything. I love this, I love that. But you know, jewelry is my passion and I just get really excited about it. I can't help it. But I will tell you, you know, if there's something that I don't love, I'm not going to pretend that I don't. So you can bet. You can take my word, definitely, because if there's something that I really just do not like, I'm not going to lie about it. I'm very, very straightforward, so no worries there. I would not steer you in the wrong direction. Okay, so let's take this first piece. This is the one that's about 13.5 inches. Let's take this one and we're going to wrap this onto our memory wire. Now, I don't know if you guys saw the earrings project or not, where we wrapped the memory wire, or I'm sorry, the fairy silk onto the wire. That's the same thing we're going to do here, okay? So we are going to find the end and we're just going to start wrapping. Now, it's kind of fussy in the beginning because you are going to have to find a way to hold that fairy silk down, okay? And this just kind of takes a little bit of practice. It's not hard or anything, but, you know, it may be awkward feeling at first, okay? And you want to decide, like, about how wide you want this section of the silk to be. I'm gonna want mine to be a little on the wide side. Let's see. I'd say probably about 2 inches is how long I want this to be. And if you make it too wide, when you start adding your beads on, you can always scooch it down, okay? That's the good thing about using fabric, is you can always kind of adjust as you go, okay? So I'm just wrapping this around. You can lay this out flat. You can keep it rounded. It's whatever you like. And just like with the earrings, we're doing several layers of this, okay? So I'll wrap one direction for a little while and then turn around and wrap back the other direction, because I want this to be a substantial, you know, a chunky monkey thing of that silk. If you don't like it that way, though, you can certainly make it pretty thin. I just want this to be big and bold so that it doesn't get lost among those Dakota beads, because some of those Terra agate beads, those great big ones, they really will take over the design. So I want my silk to be able to stand on its own here. Okay, so I'm just wrapping that around, and now. And you can see it's messy, and that's what I want, okay? That's the look we're going for. Okay, so now we're gonna come in with a piece of wire. I'm using 22 gauge wire. I've got about, let's see, 12 inches of this. This is really up to you. you can use the 22 gauge wire if you want to. You can use a smaller gauge wire. You can use a thicker gauge wire. It's really all about the look that you want. So play around with the different wires. You can use a smaller wire and add seed beads as you're wrapping around your silk. There's a lot of different things you can do with this. I'm just giving you the basics and you guys just take it and run with it. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to make a couple of wraps right here at the end of this silk, okay? And this is, you're going to have to really be careful and not let go of your silk. If you let go, you're going to have to start completely over. So you want to pinch that silk between your first finger and your thumb, but you also want to help to guide that wire. So I'm just going to make about 2 good wraps, and you can see it's not right up against that silk, but it's going to be. I'm going to push it over here right next to it, okay? And keep my tail out of the way. And now, just like we did with the earrings, we're just going to wrap around the silk and the memory wire, just kind of however you feel like it. You know, if you want these wraps to be nice and neat, then go for it. If you want them to be messy and crazy, go for it. Either way looks really, really cool. And I think that's the fun part about these kinds of designs. You know, you try it one way and you're like, oh, okay, that's great. Try it another way and you get a totally different look. Okay, you can see I went one direction and now I'm just going back the other direction. You don't have to use all 12 inches of this wire if you don't want to. It's up to you. You can always use more or less. But definitely want to start out at least with a good 10 inches just so that you don't run out, because you do want to be sure that you have enough to go at least back and forth once, okay? So I'm coming down here to this end and you can see I've got some pieces that are sticking out. I want to be sure that these guys get wrapped down nice and tight. So I just want to be sure that I'm catching that end in a wrap or two. Okay, it's not going to go anywhere, but I don't want it sticking up and getting in the way either. And the less cutting that you do on this silk, the better. It's okay to cut it into sections, but afterwards, I really try not to cut it a whole lot after I've made my measurements. All right, check that out. See how cool? Getting close here. I'm just going to take this wire down here towards the end and just make a couple more wraps just to kind of use up some of my wire and to kind of stabilize this end just a little bit. And you'll see I'm kind of fussing with this end of my memory wire. Just, you know, unfortunately, that's just part of this design. It can be kind of frustrating to have this always in your way, but there's really not anything else you can do. A third hand would be nice. So anybody who can grow one of those real quick, you let me know. All right, I'm going to come in with my cutter tool and I'm going to cut that off. Now, you don't have to use your memory wire cutter for this. Okay, and then I want to come in with my chain nose pliers and tuck that in because I don't want anything sharp sticking out. Okay, all right, so you can see it looks very similar to a fabric bead when we get done with it. Okay, so now I still have this tail here. I'm going to wrap him around another time or two and then I'm going to trim him off too. Okay. All right, so now let's thread on some of these beads. Steph, it is simple, isn't it? You know, it's a cool looking project, but it's so easy. And that's what I love. Easy, easy stuff. You know, not everything that's beautiful has to be hard. And I think a lot of people, when they get started making jewelry, they feel overwhelmed, you know, and think, oh, I can't do that. That's just too difficult. But you know what? The most beautiful things in the world are the most simple, you know? All right, so I'm going to pull up the picture because I want to be sure that I get these beads on in the right order because I really liked the way I had them. Now, you don't have to do this the way that I did it. You can do this any way you want. I'm going to cut this strand, get some of these beads off of here. Okay, so I'm going to thread on one of these really large Terra agate beads that I think are so, so pretty. I'm going to thread one of those on. Okay, and he's just going to go right up against that wire wrap, and he's actually going to help because he has a large hole. He's going to help to kind of hide that end of the wire just in case I didn't get it nice and flush cut. Okay, it's going to help to keep that from sticking out and poking anybody. Okay, now the next thing I had thread on was, give me just a second. Okay. I thought that was right. Okay. The Dakota Stone strand also has these really, really pretty copper spacers in like this pillow, square pillow shape, and then like this little daisy shape. We're going to thread on one of the daisy shapes. You absolutely can use your heavier memory wire. If I can say words, that would be great. All right, now I'm going to thread on one of these rounds. The heavy memory wire works just as well as your regular memory wire, except that it does have that added strength. So you can use heavier beads with it, and you don't have to worry that it's going to pull out that shape. Okay, so I've thread on 2 of the ovals, and I've put one of those little rounds in the middle, sandwiched between those daisy spacers. Okay, so that's what we've got so far. And my phone keeps shutting off, so I keep losing the picture. I should have put this on the computer. Okay, now we're going to do another section of the silk. I've got, let's see, don't want to get one of the shorter pieces. I've got this like 9-inch piece. This one just ended up being a little bit shorter. I wish I had cut them more evenly, but you get what you get, I guess. Now we're going to do the exact same thing that we did here, okay? Down here at the bottom. We're just going to do that right next to this bead as well. So I'm going to hold all of these beads back in my hand and free up my thumb and my forefinger to hold on to that silk, okay? And we're just going to wrap around just like we did before, okay? Now my piece is a little bit shorter this time around, so it's not going to be nearly as thick, but that's okay. It's all right, just gives it character, right? We don't want them to be twins, they're cousins, these 2 pieces here. All right. I'm going to go back the other direction if I can get it. There we go. This silk is really, really so soft to the touch. And you guys, we can do so many different things with this. So if you guys want to see more fairy silk projects, let me know. This is one of the things I really like. I love it. Just like I love everything. No. I do love it though. It's really luxurious feeling, and you know, it has that really natural feel to it that I think just kind of changes up your jewelry designs a bit. All right, so same thing, okay? I'm gonna kind of hold everything together, and I'm gonna bring in another piece of my 22 gauge wire. And just like before, I'm gonna take my tail end and wrap it around a couple times. Okay. And then I'm just gonna scoot it down right up next to the end of that silk. And then move that tail out of the way. Okay. And now I've got everything, I'm holding everything sturdy in my hand, okay? And your beads are going to move a little bit. That's okay because we haven't filled up the wire, but I do want to try to keep everything as compact as I can, okay? So now I'm going to take this end, going back around. Don't get frustrated if the first time you try to wrap wire around this, it is hard to do. It really takes a little bit of practice. It's not hard by any means, but it can, you know, the silk can get away from you, and when it unravels, it's very frustrating. not just for people who've never done it before, but for everybody. That's a frustrating thing to have your silk get away from you. Okay, now I'm ready to go back the other direction, and now everything is stable, so I can kind of let go a little bit. Okay, holding on. And just wrapping around. And I think it would be really cool to add like some smaller beads to this. Like maybe out of the mini mixes, you could take some mini mix beads and add to the wire so that they're like kind of hanging on to the outside of that silk. I think that would be a cool look. All right, going back the other way. And like I said, you don't have to use all 12 inches of this wire, but I'm going to use as much of it as I can. Coming around here to the end, and I want to be sure that I get all of those little ends tucked in as well as I can. Okay, just right up against that bead. All right, and I'm going to trim that off. Both tails, we'll trim those off. Okay, tuck that in, and hopefully that will go right inside the end of that Dakota Stones bead. Yes. All right, and I'm going to trim off this other end as well. Okay, now this end is not going to be hidden anywhere, so I definitely want to come in and make sure that I don't have any sharp edges sticking out. All right, so this is what we've got so far. Okay, we're almost done. We're just going to fill up the rest of this with some of our beads, and we're going to tie some of that fairy silk on there. So we have like some long dangles too. Could you use glue? You absolutely could. However, I will caution, the fairy silk is really, really thin. So it may, I know for a fact that it's going to bleed through, but it may cause a sticky mess. So if you're going to use glue, glue it to the memory wire, wrap it around a couple times, and then I would let it sit, maybe even overnight before I came back to it, just because it will come through that fairy silk and stick to your fingers, and then before you know it, everything is covered in that glue haze. So you can use the glue for sure, but definitely take extra caution with it because you don't want to get glue on the surface of your stones. And I definitely don't like that haze that happens with it. So just be careful if you decide to use the glue. Okay. All right. So again, I gotta pull the picture up because I just cannot remember. Okay. All right. We're going to use the pillow beads. I'm calling these pillows. They're not really pillows, but that's sort of what they remind me of. I don't know. They have that kind of magic carpet. I don't know. I'm just going to stop talking. All right. Now I'm going to add the 2 smaller rounds, and I'm going to sandwich those guys between those copper little things that I keep calling pillows. They're not. They're square spacers. You know. All right. So there's that. And now I'm going to come in with some of these short pieces, and we're going to tie 2 of these. Let's see. I think I'm going to take the 2 longer pieces. We're going to take one of these and we're just going to tie an overhanded knot. Okay, you just want to be sure that you're in the center. Tie an overhanded. Whoops. I'm not going to tie anything if I can't hold on to it. Okay. So I'm going to tie it once. And you absolutely could get away with just tying it one time. And you could add a dab of glue to this if you wanted to. But I'm not, like, I don't want to add glue to this silk. So I'm going to tie an extra knot in this. And it's going to bulk that knot up. It's going to add some, you know, it's going to be the same size as a bead on your memory wire. So there's one, and I'm going to leave my tails, I'm going to leave my ends long, okay? You can cut these off and make them shorter if you want to, if you don't want all this stuff hanging down, but I really kind of like the way that the length in this looks, so I'm going to leave it. I'm going to take another section and tie this one on as well. I'm going to do 2 knots just to be sure that it's not going to come undone. And when you tie knots in the fairy silk, this stuff really grabs onto itself, so I don't worry too much that it's going to come undone. Okay. So there's 2 knots. We've got some dangly stuff going on, which I love. And like I said, you can cut this short if you want to. You don't have to leave it long, but I really like it. So I'm going to leave it. Okay, so now I've got a couple more beads left. You can add these guys however you want to. I'm going to add one of the glass beads. I'm going to add this last twisty bead. And you know what? I'm going to skip the glass bead because I want to have room to tie some more. So I'm just going to do this guy and this last round because there's enough room here to add this last little piece of silk. If I add the glass beads, there won't be enough room. But before I tie this last piece of silk on, I'm going to go ahead and turn my loop here at the end, just so that I know that I've got everything secure. And you can see I just grabbed that with my round nose pliers. I'm just turning it in. It doesn't matter which direction you turn your loop on your memory wire. You can go up or you can go down. Makes really no difference. It's just personal preference. I turn mine down. Okay, so now I've got just enough room. You can see there's just enough room here on the end. I'm going to tie this last piece of silk. And this guy's a little bit shorter than the rest. Tie him on. And he is a little short. I don't know how he ended up so short. My measurements were, like I said, I didn't measure until after I had cut the first time I made this bracelet. Otherwise, I would have had more exact measurements. So, and there you go. Ta-da! You've got this really cute. Look at this bracelet. So fun. I love the combination of the fabrics with these really earthy agate beads. To me, that's just really, that's the epitome of summertime for me. I like bright colors, but I do love this muted kind of greenish blue that's going on here. It has a very ocean feel to it. You mix it with these really earthy Terra agate beads, and you've got a great combination. So yeah, great boho look. I really, really love it. And you know, you could mix this design up. You could buy some of the new fairy silk that's in those bright colors and get some really bright Dakota Stones beads or Jesse James beads, and you could make some really awesome, crazy, wild designs with this. But I think this would look cool in a stack. If I had like 4 or 5 of these all stacked up on my wrist, I think that would be really, really awesome. So yeah, hooray! Thank you, thank you. I'm glad you guys like this one. I thought it was a fun one. Let me flip the camera around for you guys. All right. Hello, hello. It's me again. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this project. I thought this was a neat one. I like instant gratification jewelry. I'm all about it. If I can make something quick and easy that looks really, really cool, I love that life. And the combination of the stones and the fairy silk, that's good stuff. I really, really liked it. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. Carol says she needs some fairy silk. Carol, everybody needs fairy silk. And I'm not just saying that because I'm partial. I'm saying it because it's true. It's good stuff. It's really beautiful. If you never worked with it before, when you feel it, it just has this really different feel to it, obviously because it's silk, but it just feels luxurious. It's really great stuff. And of course it's hand dyed, so you know that some real love and attention was put in to making all of it, which I think is really, you know, that makes a difference in your jewelry too. So can we see it on your arm? Yeah, you absolutely can. Pick an arm here. All right, so I already have a stack of stuff going on here. Let me turn this out. Sorry, I forget about this light. So you can see, you know, you've got these dangles on the bottom, which I really love. I think that's fun, you know, and that one, it's just one wrap of that memory wire is all you need, you know. It's not going anywhere. Cute, huh? I love it. I love it. Sometimes after I do a design, I take them apart so that I can restring the beads and then use the beads again for another project. I think that this strand is done. Donezo. Keeping this one. Gonna wear this one. Thank you, Doris. All right. So that's it for me. Thank you, Melanie. Thank you everybody for watching. I hope you guys have enjoyed today's project. If you would like to see more fairy silk projects, definitely let us know, or anything else that you guys are interested in seeing. You know, I get creative block just like everybody else does. So sometimes, you know, I get down to the wire and it's almost time to show you guys a project and I'm like, oh, I don't know what to do. So definitely leave us some suggestions. Let Sarah know what you guys want to see. She'll pass it on to me. And that's it. I will see you guys same time, same place next week. Bye guys. Y'all have a wonderful night.